his dad got an idea.
Yeah, this man he bought a map, a real old map. And of course, there's lots of old maps. And he told right on the map where this lost Dutchman's gold mine should be.
I've heard of a lost lost Dutch gold mine. I've heard of it before.
I got a book in here, the story about it, if you want someone to read it to you. Anyway, we moved to Phoenix, and it took 2 weeks to drive out, and we had 2,300 miles, and we had 24 tires blow out. Because they were old rotten tires that you couldn't buy. It was right after the war, and they weren't making new tires yet. Army got everything new. So we kept patching the tires, and they would all go down at night, and we had a hand pump, and we'd pump them back up. And we finally made it to Phoenix. Then the problem was, where can we live? And so they spent a week in a motel in Mesa looking for a place, and finally went out in the desert by Apache Junction and found a couple old mining shacks, and no one had lived in them for a long time.
Out in the middle of the desert.
And so my dad rented those and cleaned up one of them to make a workshop, and where he built furniture, wooden furniture. And the other one we lived in. We had a cast iron cook stove, and we burned dead cactus, and the old lady that owned the mining shacks had about 10 or 11 cows. So it was my job to go out and get the wood, which was cow chips, dry cow chips.
You know what you're talking about?
And you would you always kicked them, make sure that they were dry and not all gushy in the middle.
Yeah.
And then we had a cardboard box, and we'd pick them up and put them in there. They'd get the fire going, and then you keep adding these cow patties, and they made a lot of smoke, not very good heat, but that's the way the pioneers did in the Dakotas. Only
Tell
they
them
burned.
where you got the water.
And we didn't have running water or no electricity, and there was a windmill, and when the wind was blowing, we could take our water buckets down and fill them, and some days
But how much is this?
some days we had to walk a couple of miles down to the second windmill, and if the wind wasn't blowing, somebody had to climb up a tower and turn the blade by hand to pump up a gallon of water. And that was a very slow process
Did you want to
and
measure
dangerous, because when you were turning it up there, if the wind came by, it might start turning and chop you all up.
This.
So
Well, just know I get
Can you imagine
No.
living in a house that has no water?
I know how to
No.
No.
It didn't have windows
No,
either.
don't
It had what
measure
they
it.
call shutters.
I know.
They were just
Not
boards
You're not measuring.
shape of a window on hinges, and you open them up to, and then at night you close them so wild animals couldn't. And we used to, there was lots of wild pigs called javelinas,
Oh, I've heard of them.
20.
and they would come by and we'd hear them at night time, but
But what do
And
you think
Grandpa
is
would like to tell, he could tell you what they had on their table. How many forks did they have for all of you?
we didn't
You
have,
are cool.
my folks didn't own any forks. They only had spoons, one spoon per person, and
Let's
one
make
10 plate
robots
per
out of these.
person. And you had, when you're through eating, you washed out the plate and you put the spoon down first and turn it upside down over it. That way the mice wouldn't make messes on in your plate, because there was lots of mice.
And believe it or not, they did not have, what was it you had to share? Not everybody had a toothbrush, and so they had to
Yeah,
share it.
we only had one toothbrush for the whole family, and so
I'm going to do
and we didn't have toothpaste, so you had two choices:
Which one do you
either
think?
baking soda,
This
which
one.
is on your toothbrush, or salt.
So I'm gonna measure
So
this one,
Salt
step on
and
this one.
Baking soda will clean things. People used to use those a lot.
Uh huh.